Hello, Positive Philter listeners. This is a special episode of the podcast. Earlier this week, past General President Mark S. Tillman joined Alpha Toastmasters to share about his journey with leadership and public speaking. I hope you enjoyed this special episode as he shares his journey within Alpha and as a public speaker. Enjoy. Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show.
And making sure I don't do a lot of ahs and uhs and ohs and you-knows and all that stuff. So first of all, let me just say thank you to Wilkerson for the invitation. Brother Wilkerson and I communicated back in May of this year, so right before the summertime. And he asked me, Brother Tillman, would you mind attend this meeting? And I said, sure. But I had to get through summer. But so we got through summer, we're in the fall, and it is just my high honor to be here with all of my brothers. And I see many brothers who I know personally. I see we got Brother McLucas here, Brother Rodney Blunt. Brother Blunt actually served as my secretary within the Midwestern region, who is really 45 minutes away from me. I'm in Southfield, Michigan. He is in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I just biked 105 miles with Brother Peralta just 2 weeks ago. Well, 10 days ago in the rain for 40 miles. So we got out there, and for us, it's about health and wellness, but we just did a century in Salisbury, Maryland. And for all of the brothers who I've never met before, one day I hope to get to meet you in person, grip you up, I'm sure, at a convention or any activity that Alpha does in the future. So I'm going to share my screen. And Brother Wilkerson asked me to speak on the importance of public speaking in leadership. And I told him not a problem, because as a general president, you get many opportunities to speak in front of individuals. By my count, I think I have spoken to over 200 events where I had to give remarks, where I had to do formal speeches, impromptu speeches, presiding over mega services, you name it, and topics that were not a part of who I am. And so it is very important that this entity, the Toastmasters, Alpha Toastmasters, help grow skills to allow everyone to have the opportunity to influence others. And that's what I'm going to be talking about through the course of this presentation. But I don't assume that everybody knows who I am. So this is just simply a quick Mark Tillman on the page. I am from New Orleans, Louisiana. That means I am a New Orleans Saints fan. So if you are a Saints fan, put it in the chat. And if not, don't tell me that you are a Dallas Cowboys fan. I hear that a lot. I also have the opportunity to serve, well, I should say I'm married to my first lady, Valicia. We've been married for 27 years. She's been a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha in 2022. So now our roles have reversed. She's busy. I'm the one at home cooking dinner. And then you see that in my background, I am in the IT field. I am a project delivery lead. I'm a senior IT project manager, leading a team of project managers in a cybersecurity information assurance space. And you can see the other roles that I've played in some of my career. Switching to the fact that I enjoy my brothers. I'm a cyclist, So again, I just cycled with Brother Peralta. I cycled with these brothers in Atlanta, Georgia, just this past August. So if you are a cyclist on this call, let me know. Pop it in the chat, because we have a group of Alpha cyclists, over 600 of us on the globe, and we encourage each other, we support each other, and so we are about health and fitness. And if you are a brother of the other twos, that is, if you ride a motorcycle, if you enjoy the twisties, if you enjoy the tail of the dragon, 11 miles and 318 curves, pop it in the chat as well, because there's also an Alpha motorcycle group called Alphas on Twos. And we host a yearly Alpha Roundup, which is an event that brothers from around the country get together ride different roads. And just I'm the pastor. I was initiated to Alpha through a chapter seated at Dillon University on November 22nd, 1985. I was the back-to-back alumni chapter of the year of the fraternity here in Detroit, Michigan. And then I've also had many, many speaking opportunities. And I just happened to pick these two because I had videos for these two. One was that I delivered remarks for the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. So you're actually seeing the video feed that was done by C-SPAN. I also had an opportunity to become the person of the week here locally at our local ABC affiliate TV station, where myself as a big brother and my mentee, Elijah, we were interviewed, and it was an honor to be able to sit there and talk about mentoring with my little and share my thoughts to others. And so in this role, or even in the role of being an alpha, maybe in the role of your current job, you may never know when you will be called upon to speak to an audience. And honing in those skills, honing in on what you need to convey is very, very important. So I just wanted to share a little bit of my background in a minute. But if anyone wants to know a little bit more about me, feel free to get with me. So this is my, I call it personal journey in icons or brands. When did you know that you needed to speak up? You know, when you are a young individual, you don't know exactly what you want to do. You don't know if you want to be a sportscaster or a newscaster, president of the United States. But there are pieces of your journey that forms who you are. And every brand that you see up here on the screen forms the overall brand of who you are. It's simply an amalgamation of these different pieces of your life, these different pieces, these different stages of your life to become the person that you are today. And preparing for this speech, I had to go back and think about, when was my first real opportunity that I had to speak up? When I was young, I was a Cub Scout and ultimately became a Boy Scout. And when you're in that stage of life, you're just learning how to get along with a group. You're learning certain leadership skills. You're learning how to get along with others, how to organize and build things. That provides a foundation of what's going to come later on in life. In high school, I was in the marching band, St. Augustine High School in New Orleans, Louisiana. We called ourselves the Marching 100, the best band in the land. And I was a section leader of the clarinet section. And my job was to ensure that every clarinet player knew the formation, knew the music, know how to step, know how to be integrated in the overall formation of 128 steppers and musicians that are out there on a football field. That was my first real taste of a leadership position, because you have the band director, drum majors, section leaders. And so that started to form my leadership ability, but also my public speaking or speaking ability, because I had to direct. I indicated I ride a motorcycle, and I am in a Harley owners group. And the one thing about the Harley owners group that I'm in is that I am one of very few African Americans in that group. It is overwhelmingly Caucasian. But being a public speaker did not make me afraid to speak to an overwhelming group of Caucasians. In fact, throughout my career in IT, throughout my job, from EDS to HP to DXC to Michigan Medicine, I am usually one of very few African Americans where I'm at. But that did not make me afraid to speak up and to speak my mind and to lead others in those particular roles that I served throughout my journey. And so one day you may be taking a stock into your particular brand, your brand of brands. What allowed you to get this far with what you have done in your life? It's more than just a resume. It's really the fact that you have now become this overwhelming sense of person based upon these individual brands that you are part of. And this is just a taste of everything that I've done. So that's one thing that you need to think about, or I should say, to think about as you are moving through your leadership journey, as you're moving through your fellowship journey. One thing that's all interrelated is how you address and deal and work with people. Brother Wilkinson asked me to, Brother Tillman, share your Alpha journey with us. And this is a timeline from the moment that I became, that I entered Dillard University in 1984 as a freshman. And while I was at Dillard, that's when I basically became aware of Alpha Phi Alpha. And my major was computer science. And I became an Alpha in my sophomore year in November of 1985. And yes, that is a young, fresh face, right off of being initiated, young brother without the beard. And again, my first taste of public speaking really at the collegiate level and becoming an Alpha, I should say, was when I addressed the who went from big brother to being my brothers of Alpha Phi Alpha. And we had to introduce ourselves within this was at our banquet that we were doing. Graduated Dillard, and then immediately started my job up here in Detroit, Michigan with EDS. But EDS formed my foundation for being organized. I was a systems engineer. You know, when you graduate, you get your first career, you get your first taste of a paycheck, a real paycheck. You get your first taste of working with others. That is not why you're not in college. And then my Alpha leadership journey has really begun and taken off about 10 years after I became a member of the organization. I was an area director for the Detroit area, and then eventually became the district director of Michigan. So I went speaking to 3 chapters to 20 chapters at the time of brothers within the state of Michigan. And then I started getting noticed within the fraternity and eventually became the Midwestern Regional Vice President. I served in other roles within the region. I served in other roles at the national level or general level. But I became a board member within the fraternity by becoming the Midwestern Regional Vice President. And then I went from speaking to 20 chapters worth of brothers to 13 states or 12 states worth of brothers plus the District of Canada. And then ultimately, I became the general president of Alpha Phi Alpha. And I can tell you, between the time of being a district director, regional vice president, general president, and even past general president, by my count, I have been invited to and spoken at over 150 to 200 different functions where I had to deliver my thoughts, where I had to convey my ideas and influence individuals. Didn't mean that folks agreed with what I was saying, but being in these positions allowed me to prepare to being a leader in this organization. And so as I matriculated my journey within the fraternity, it also strengthened myself outside of Alpha. I was not afraid to speak up at a company meeting or to speak up at my CEO's leadership staff meeting to convey what needed to be done with the role and the activities and the tasks that I've been given. I was not afraid to jump into being a board member of the Boy Scouts, not afraid to working with young individuals and letting them know little skills that you develop along the way will help you be a better person for the future and for the here and now. And so as I look back throughout my Alpha journey of being a leader in this fraternity and speaking to a diverse crowd, I spoke about racism to the Chamber of Commerce in Iowa. I spoke about mentorship to Big Brothers and service to various organizations along that journey. So it wasn't just about Alpha. It was conveying who Mark Tillman is, the information I needed to convey at that time, and the leadership that I needed to exude to those individuals. Wrong way. One thing I feel about public speaking and its importance to leadership is that one, leadership is not given. It is truly earned. And public speaking is pretty much the foundation on the skills and the right to lead. These 7 points that are shown on the screen, and I'm not going to read each one of them, but these are the 7 points that come from John C. Maxwell's book called The Right to Lead. And he talks about these 7 traits of leadership and that these traits are a part of me. There are many different styles out there, but these are the 7 traits that I embody when I know that I have to direct individuals, I have to delegate tasks to others, I have to convey my vision, convey my thoughts, influence individuals. And public speaking is more directly tied to item number 3, building positive relationships. Because as it states, leadership is influence and your ability to speak in front of a crowd, no matter how big or how small, you are influential. And it's a relational activity. If you are unable to speak to a crowd, to convey your thoughts, you may be seen as a credible individual or a credible leader. And that doesn't mean that folks have to agree with you. It just means that folks want to know, do you know what you're talking about? Can I follow what you're saying? And is it something that I can get behind? So I feel that public speaking at its core of leadership is that if you want to become a better leader, that you have to consider these different areas. Conveying your ideas more effectively to others, engaging your audience that ignites additional thoughts and ideas, that when one comes together and they can collaborate, the idea becomes bigger than the one individual. And then in turn, these individuals or audience will give you the right to lead them into whatever situation that you're there to provide for. So for myself, these 7 traits are basically foundational to who I am and how I've led this organization, how I lead at my company, and how I've led in different organizations I've been a member of. And so my approach to public speaking, that when I'm addressing my brothers or I'm addressing a room full of board members for the Boy Scouts, I have a simple approach. You can Google tricks for public speaking, but this is what has been the core to me and foundational to myself. That I do believe that the audience wants to hear what you have to say. I've been invited over 200 times. I have to know and understand that whatever I'm going to say, the audience wants to hear it. I never go into any situation thinking, man, will the audience accept what I'm going to give them? I go in there with the confidence and with the knowledge that I know what I'm talking about, and I want to share those thoughts with the individuals who are going to be reviewing and viewing my presentation. I speak with confidence, but not with arrogance. And so for my approach, and the approach that I suggest as tips, is that know what you're going to say, know how you're going to say it, but say it in a manner that's not off-putting. And so I've worked very hard to ensure that my delivery would make individuals and my audience feel comfortable and that they understand what I'm going to say. And then if I don't know something, I say so. I am not the smartest person in the room. I know that there are more folks smarter than me. Sometimes what I'm presenting on, they're individuals who spend years and decades on that craft or that area or that topic. Sometimes for me, it's a 20-minute conversation. But if I don't know something, I am open enough and confident enough to say, I don't know. And to say, I can find someone to get that answer, or I will go research that answer. So when I'm standing in front of the public giving a speech, I don't try to be the smartest person in the room. And I'm very humble to say, I don't know something if I'm asked a question. I always check my facts. And I would say that in any approach, you check your facts before someone else does. I work very hard to ensure that the information that I'm conveying is very factual and very specific, and that if someone wants to Google it, they will know that it came from a source or that it was formed based on information that you can find. I work very hard not to just ad lib anything that I say to my audience. I want to make sure that I'm very intentional about what I'm going to convey and that the information I convey is very factual. I do try to keep in mind of the time, and I am looking at the time and I'm sweating with the timekeeper on this call because I made mistakes on going over time. At the 2015 General Convention, I spoke for 1 hour and 45 minutes to almost 2 hours, given my State of Fraternity address. I had a lot of information to convey, but one of my biggest regrets that I spoke that long. But one of the things that I came away with is that my brothers sat there and listened. But I am very conscious of everyone's time, respectful of everyone's time, because they're there to listen to you, but they don't want to listen to you all day, all night. And so I try to keep that. I know I go over at times, and sometimes it's avoidable, but I do try to focus on that, and that's very important. I always say thank you. Thank you to Brother Wilkerson for inviting me here this evening. Thank you to any speaking engagement that I delivered. Because if they didn't want to hear from you, they didn't need to invite you. And so I'm very cognizant that it is an honor when someone wants to hear what I have to say. And I always want to let people know that I appreciate the fact that you want me to speak to you. So I always say thank you at the end of all of my speeches. And the last tip that I can give, and that I follow myself personally, is that the best speaking style is your style. You know, as a past general president, you have many examples and of great orators within our fraternity. One of the living orators is our own Brother Milton Carver Davis, who is the 29th General President. He is a fantastic speaker. You have Brother Everett Ward, our 35th General President. He is also a fantastic speaker. And all of our General Presidents had to really be good speakers in order to become General President. Because I can assure you, if you were unable to convey your thoughts to the Brotherhood will let you know, and you will not become General President. But one of the things that I took for myself as a speaker was not to emulate anybody else. I can only be me. And as long as you are authentically you in who you are, you may speak with an accent, you may speak with a slight lisp. Be authentic to who you are, because that forms the foundation of the person that's going to convey information. And the audience wants to know, man, is he being true to me? Is he being who he is? And the worst thing to do is to try to be someone that you're not. So I do want to say thank you to Brother Wilkerson, and thank you to my brothers of the Alpha Toastmasters for allowing me to be a part of this occasion. I don't take it for granted that for everything that I do, brothers are watching. The public is watching. But one thing that I always try to do is to be very prepared, because at any moment, you may be asked to speak for any occasion, for any function, for any person. And I take high honor to be able to provide my thoughts, my ideas, my tips on how I can help better my brothers to become better speakers, but more importantly, to become better leaders, not only for this organization, but for the world at large. So I want to say thank you, my brothers, for this opportunity.
Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.